Now, liquidity is money, and money is what moves the market. If there is no liquidity, price cannot move. The buys that you see, the sales that you see, everything that is going on in the market is as an effect of liquidity being transferred in the market. Now, including those that hit losses, those that hit profits, everybody are partakers of this liquidity. It's either you are depositing your own liquidity or you are benefiting from another person's liquidity, but we are all partakers of liquidity. Now, this movement on gold is liquidity. Now, we spot liquidity in the market in order not to be the liquidity. Now, I'll be talking about the three major types. This person that is drawing this rubbish, I don't know what your problem is, but don't allow me remove you from this class. This is your last warning. So, in order to make money from the market, you do not have to be the liquidity. There's a saying that goes, if you can't spot the liquidity, liquidity can be written in short from LQ. You are the liquidity. Bernard, stop drawing on this board or whatever. Stop drawing here. Stop distracting this class. If you can't spot the liquidity, you are the liquidity, which means that if you are not benefiting from this liquidity, it means that you are the benefactor. All right. Now, there's one example I usually use. I'll tell them that the market takes from Peter to pay Paul. In every loss you get, there is somebody that is winning. If you take a trade and your trade hits a loss, there is somebody that your money was used to pay that person because you were the depositor of liquidity as of that point. All right. So we're taking the three major types of liquidity now. You have to look out for liquidity every time you trade. You have to be conscious of it. That doesn't mean you are not supposed to trade, but you have to be conscious of the liquidity. Now, let's talk about the first one. I'll be listing out the three at once. So we have the inducement liquidity. The second we have, which might be a bit complex for you. So in case you're a newbie, please be writing. We have the structural liquidity. And the last one, which we might not do today because I want to join it with range. We'll be doing just these two today. The last one is the transactional liquidity. The rare liquidity is very rare. Not almost every trader knows it because it is rare, and the use of this last liquidity is not as such as the first and the second. Now we're talking about the first two, and the last one will come when we talk about range in the topic where range is. Now, what is this inducement liquidity? Now, if somebody asks you that, if somebody say to you, this person was induced, what is the person trying to say? Now, inducement is some kind of trap. All right, but let me put it this way. In English language, we can say this person was induced, which means that He was persuaded to do something. Something just happened. All right. Now, inducement is, would I say, the most wicked liquidity somebody has to encounter, because so many times what people and what gives people their biggest losses is because they are trading inside the inducement liquidity, thinking it is a point of interest. Now, what is this inducement liquidity? If you get induced by this inducement liquidity, then you become the donator of liquidity. Don't forget, liquidity is money. All right. Now, inducement liquidity is the kind of liquidity that traps early buyers and early sellers. How do I mean? Now, remember what I said in the last class? I said we have two break of structure. And then we have this first guy here. We have this second guy. And then I said this first guy, price could take that guy out and still buy. Am I right? And then I said, in order for us to know that price is changing trend in the advanced market structure, price has to take out the two, not one. Now you have to ask yourself, if you went back to study, the turn up of this class is extremely low. Anybody that will come tomorrow to say this class was this and that, I don't just know what to say to that person. The turn up is extremely low. Anyway, let's proceed. Everybody have their cross to carry. Now, you might be wondering, why did we change that? Price taking out this one does not mean it is changing character, but price taking out this second one means it's changing character. It is because the first one is called an inducement. It is used to trap early buyers and sellers. That is an inducement liquidity. The first most recent break of market structure is a BOS. Or let me say, the first most recent, this is an uptrend, strong low, let's say this is not here yet, is an inducement. How does it induce early buyers? Like I said before, now Mr. A might want to buy from this point. If Mr. A buys from this point, price can take out Mr. A and go in Mr. A's direction. Now, remember when you guys will be saying, price just kicked me out and it went in my direction. It is because what? You were the inducement liquidity. But there is a solution for not being an inducement liquidity. There is a solution. But first of all, before you know the solution, first of all, need to know how to spot an inducement liquidity. Now, inducement liquidity are not tradable directly, quote, directly, which means that they are tradable, but not directly. We'll come to that when we get to entry. But for now, the most recent valid break of structure, if for now you don't know what makes a break of structure valid, calm down. We'll be getting to it when we get to structural liquidity. We'll be getting to that. That's why I said the last class that when we go to the next class, we'll talk about what makes the break of structure valid. The main characteristics of it is the structural liquidity. We'll get to that. But on this part, the inducement liquidity is not to be traded at any cost. This person, I don't just know why human beings have problem with hearing. I say don't draw on this. How will I be teaching and you be drawing your own thing? Who is doing that good? Stop distracting this class. If I see your name appear on this screen again, it means that you're trying to do something. I will remove you from this call. And if you do it more than 3 times, I will suspend you for 1 week. You can't be distracting the class. Now let's proceed. Now I said most people, especially some of you here, before this mentorship, you were actually buying directly from here. If you are being sincere with yourself, you always say when price, like this is what you tell yourself. Let me, you in your own words, you say when price does this. Gone are the days when people trade this thing. They'll say like this. And then the word that entry to be here. Just like that. Yes, this thing works, but it has a confluence that backs it up. You don't just see randomly. That's why if you check that course outline, I think there's a QML plus inverse key level. You see something like that. Now there's something that backs it up. If that confluence is not met, this particular thing you see here, from this point, it is seen as an inducement liquidity. This whole thing here. And inducement liquidity are to be swept away by the market. Now, let me explain in a very simple manner how the market moves. Now, let me put it this way. The market takes from Mr. A to pay Mr. B. But Mr. B is not supposed to be in the same position. Okay, let me use like Nigeria, for example, now. Let's say there's going to be a giveaway. But before that giveaway, police might come to arrest everybody in that location. Let's say the giveaway starts by 6 p.m., but the Nigeria police might come to that place by 5:50 p.m. to arrest the people that came early. Now, yes, there's going to be a giveaway. People will benefit from it. But the people that will come 5:50 might get arrested for nuisance because they are too early. That is what is happening. You will make profit, but don't be too early. Now, the most profitable trade is after price has taken out liquidity. Why? Because it is that liquidity it needs to move this market. The time where you see price just moving like this, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and the rest. Price has not cleared anybody out. Whenever you see price clear major POI, for example, everybody is looking forward to buying from here, and then you see price clear this place, like something like this. It clears here, and then it buys. Now, people might want to buy it because they are doing like retest, retest, and all of that. And then price breaks it, and then boom, it bought. At that point, it grabbed liquidity, and then that is it. So, in the biggest understanding, if there's anything you take home today, the inducement liquidity is not to be tradable directly. Let me check the Telegram group. Hope there's no problem and hope everybody can hear me very well. Tell those people that can't join the class to use the new link, not the old link. This is not old link that we're using. This is not the old link. So let's continue. Like I said, the inducement liquidity is not to be traded directly. Doesn't mean you cannot trade it. Now let's go and look for one practical example. And don't forget, the most recent is the inducement. No matter how price buys, the most recent is the inducement. The most recent is the inducement. Don't forget, every time remind yourself that you are not to trade the most recent directly because it is the inducement. So let me look for Okay, let's use this. Let me clear this. I think these things are from the previous class, so it may likely just mess things up. Okay, let me just look for a clean one. Okay, fine. For example, this is an inducement. If you think of buying here, what happens? You get taken out. As simple as that. Let me look for another one. There's a kind of price action I'm looking for. I want to look for where price took out inducement and later reclaimed it, because I told you guys that inducement can be taken out and reclaimed. So I want to use that example. Like I said, reclaim is just like coming back to like that point of interest and then it buys. So um okay, for a good price action. I think I can get one from last year. Okay, let me just use this one. Not so good, but then. So if you look closely at this, you discover that no. I don't want to use the one that will confuse you because I've not explained the qualities, like the characteristics of a valid. Okay, fine. I've seen a perfect one. So we have this guy here. Even if you don't understand, now when I go to structural liquidity, I'll come back to this diagram so that you understand what makes this a valid break or structure. Because a lot of people will ignore this, but for real, it is valid. From here down to this point is a valid break or structure. As you can see, this is a valid break or structure. And now, because this is, let's assume that this place, what's the problem on Telegram now? What's going on with them there? Why they tagging? Even we take care of that, please. Okay, so let's assume that all of this does not exist, and only what exists is just from here like this. Now, because this is the most recent, we call this our what? Our inducement. And what did I say about inducement? Not to be traded. Instead of me to write inducement as inducement, the short form is IDM, by the way. So IDM, and then in brackets, not to be traded directly. Don't know if this fits, but then okay. The smallest. Okay, you can see here. Inducement, let me increase the put it in 11. Okay, fine. Inducement not to be traded directly. Now, if you observe something, like I said, inducement can be taken out and price will still buy. Like I said, inducement can be taken out and price will still buy. That is why I said it is not to be traded directly, because the work of this inducement is price should sweep it because it's liquidity. So price needs to clear it to generate volume. What is volume? These things you are seeing, momentum, all right? Or let me use the word force. Okay, like we are pushing something. You need to eat to have that energy. Fine, that's the best example. You need to eat to have the energy to push a wall or something, right? So now that liquidity is your food. So that time you are eating, price is clearing out these things before it moves. So you can still trade this inducement, but not just directly, because price, if imagine you're entering from here. Okay, let's assume where will your SLB? You might want to like pull your entry here. Except you are using this kind of SL, and if you are using this, oh my god, this is over $73 on lowest lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. And if you say, okay, let's use this, you'll be taken out. If you say, let's use this, you'll be taken out. Just anything, even as little as this is $47. So if truth be told, anybody that enters directly from this place will be taken out. But if you look closely, around this time, October last year, I took this trade. After price took out this inducement, I reclaimed this inducement. We'll get to that when we get to entry. So, on no account should you enter. I see some people drop their chart. The reason why I've not started like enforcing some kind of rules is because when I look at these people, I feel like with time they will know that they are just wasting their time. We have not gotten into advance. A lot of people are doing what they don't know. They are even doing the things that we did not teach. I feel like with time, you will know that you need to calm down. You don't need to rush. Because some people are even entering directly from inducement. I'm seeing the chart. So I feel like, okay, let me explain it better. Then they will know that, okay, what they're entering is wrong. Because some losses you get, they are not the market. It's your own ignorance. You're entering from liquidity. Liquidity needs to be cleared out. Do not enter directly from it. The most recent break of structure is an inducement. Simple. Now let's go into the second one, which will be the last one we'll be treating today. Structural liquidity. Now, what is this structural liquidity? Now, structural liquidity, I'll explain it in a very layman understanding. First of all, structural liquidity is what validates a break of market structure, which means that if we have a break of structure like this, if there is no structural liquidity inside this break of structure, okay, let's say book structure here. If inside this place, let me use that annotation. If inside this place, all of this place, there is no break of structural liquidity, it means that this point of interest is not a valid break of structure. It means that this is not, and anything that is not a valid break of structure is a structural liquidity on its own. I will come again. Let me clean this off. Now keep your ear calm. Now, what I said in the beginning, I said a break of structure, what validates it is a structural liquidity. And any break of structure that has no structural liquidity before the break of the weak point, this is the weak point. Now, before price breaks this weak point, for this to be called a valid break of structure, there must be a structural liquidity inside these areas, either of in one structural liquidity or more, before price breaks the weak high. Otherwise, that becomes that particular point of interest, that particular break of structure is a minor break of structure, and it is a structural liquidity and not a proper break of structure. Now let us check examples of this break of structure, this structural liquidity. Now we have the two types of this structural liquidity. Now this name was when I was learning this structural liquidity actually in 2023. Yes, when I was learning this, I started learning by May 2023. Yes, that was where I paid for mentorship with my mentor. All right. The name I'm going to call this thing now is not a formal name. What do I mean? I use it to explain for my students to understand better. So you might go outside and you call it that name, and only people in the TLS or anybody that has learned from directly or indirectly watch the video anywhere might understand you. But formally, this is not what it is called. Now, I'm going to divide the social liquidity into two parts so that you can understand me better. But this is not what it is called when it is being divided. There is no two types of social liquidity. Social liquidity is social liquidity, but I'm going to divide it into two parts because you can see it in two different ways. Now, the first way, we call it the dual social liquidity. And the second, we call it the series SLQ. SLQ is structural liquidity, structural for S, LQ, liquidity, dual, and series. Now we'll be starting with the dual before we get into the series. Now, structural liquidity is just what, I don't know, Steven, if he told you. Structural liquidity is simple, a minor break of structure. It's a minor break of structure. Now, this minor break of structure, what is it? First of all, like when I started explaining, I said, if, for example, there's supposed to be a structural liquidity here before price broke this point. Like I said, you have to have the structural liquidity before price breaks the weak point. If it's for buy, you say the weak high. For sales, the weak close. So if we have this structural liquidity here, it makes this to be a valid break of structure. But in cases where we have something like this, no matter how good looking it is, but no structural liquidity before this break, even if this structural liquidity later appear here, even if the social liquidity later appear here, but it did not happen inside here before this break of structure, just know that this is not a valid break of structure. This entire thing here is said to be a structural liquidity. Because why? It doesn't have a structural liquidity inside of it. Now let's talk about the dual structural liquidity. Like I said, they are just minor structures that you find in between. Now, this is how structural liquidity should look inside your break of structure. They have to look this way, like this. They look like a break of structure on their own. That's why they are called minor, because they are small. These ones are major. These ones are minor because they are small. They can be one. It can be one. It can be more. All right. It can be just one. One can validate it. More can validate it. One and uncountable. Fine. Now, I said it has to be like your normal break of structure, but it is smaller because it is called what? A minor. But there's something you need to know. Sometimes they don't look like this. They represent just two candles. Now, how do you know? If you read is it the candlestick Bible, whatever, the trading Bible, the candlestick Bible, I can't even remember that. It's been long, but I think Steven dropped it. If you read that book, you know that there's what we call opening and closing of a candlestick. These things here you see, they are called candlestick. For the total newbies, these things are candlestick. You might find these things strange at first, instance right now that I am teaching you. But I promise you that if you try your best to watch this video minimum of 8 times before the next class, like I said, minimum. When it comes to study, I do a lot. Minimum of 8 times before the next class. I'm sure that you will understand this thing perfectly. So don't give up on yourself yet. Where did I write that? Okay. So it needs to appear like this, but in some cases, it doesn't appear like this. That's why they are called dua. And that dua represent just 2 candles, and the 2 candles is made up of their opening and closing price. Now look at it. We have the first innocent candle, and then we have the candle that sweeps below it, and just a random candle that closes above this one that sweeps below this one. Can be really weak, can be with the body, can be be with whatever. This one don't have rule. It can close with the weak, can close with the body. But the most important thing is this particular candle here, this one has to close below the previous candle. You can see. As you can see, it has to close below this candle. This is the most important thing. Whether this one close with body or it close with weak, doesn't matter. What matters here is this one in the middle has to close below the previous one with the body of the candle. Sometimes it happens like this, but this is it's still correct, but more like the body is better. Now, if these 3 candles, this thing you see here, they are found inside. Let's assume that this is 1 hour time frame as it is. If this thing here, if they are found inside this candle, if they are found inside this break of structure before this year, it has directly validated this whole break of structure as a valid market structure break. It has validated it, like it is very much valid at that point. Why? Because this thing was created before the break of this weak point. This one is the dua. Now let's go to that chart and let's look for the dua. I'm going to give an assignment. Everybody is going to draw you're going to draw it just in case I forget. Anybody can remind me, or any of the management team, they'll get to me. You're going to go to gold or any pair of your choice anyway. You go to just from June till January this year, June last year, January this year. You're going to show me your valid break of structures. Now, I'm going to do this in a PDF form, so you don't like later the group. Now, let's come back to this point. Now, you may be asking, how did I know this was a valid inducement? Because you know a valid inducement has to be a valid break of structure, which is the most recent break of structure. How did I know? Now, what did I explain? I said the candle needs to close below. You can see this where this break of structure occurred. Let me take this red stuff out. You can see where this break of structure occurred. I see break of structure has to be with the body of the candle. So this is where the body occurred. This candle here, this one. Now, as tiny. Now, the reason why I long this thing from here, like I said that the break of structure was all down to this point, was because after this most recent one, Price did not create any other recent reconstruction. So everything here is inside this last one that was created. That's how it is. So we have this point here that price broke structure. If you look closely, price created this dual structural liquidity that I just explained with just 3 candles. Candle number 1, this one here. Let me change the color to red. Candle number 1, where is that guy? This one. Let me just make it longer so you can see this one. Okay, can I just point it in the head so that it becomes visible? Okay. Candle number 1, this one. Or should I call this the candle that swept? This one. Ah, my God. No matter how tiny a break of structure is, as long as it has the structural liquidity inside of it, it is correct as an inducement, or it is correct as the most recent break of structure. That's candle number 2. Candle number 3, the one that closed above with the body. You can see. Candle number 1, the single man. Number 2, the sweeping man. He swept it. Look at, you can see it here. He swept this one, the previous candle. Candle number 3, the candle that closed above. As simple as that. That is what validated this as an inducement. Now, another thing is that validated this was because it was the most recent break of structure in this whole leg. It was if you check again, you will not see this thing here. There was no break of structure. This was the last week we had here. Price did not break anything here. This is their last high with the week. Price could not break above it. And even if it has broken above it, like I said before, anyone that doesn't have a structural liquidity is a structural liquidity. Anyone that doesn't have a structural liquidity is a structural liquidity. So what do I mean? So even if this thing has broken this high here, you can see there's no dual structural liquidity here. So therefore, it is not a break of structure. It is just a structural liquidity. But because this one has this 3 rule, it is said to be an inducement. Now look over here. Now this one created a structural liquidity, but without no break of structure. If you look closely, we had this guy here, the single man, the sweeping man, and the one that broke with the body. But why was it not the inducement? Because we would have said, okay, it's the most recent. Why is it not an inducement? It's because there is no structural liquidity inside. So if you are a structural liquidity and you don't have a structural liquidity in you, I need a practical example. What will I use? Okay, they say an empty barrel makes the loudest noise, right? If that empty barrel is filled, it won't be seen as empty. Am I right? So for the fact that it is empty is because it's an empty barrel. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of something to write with this. Trying to break it down. I need something more practical than this. But like I said, this is not a break of structure, a valid BOS break of structure, because it doesn't have a structural liquidity in it, like the empty bar example I was giving. there is no liquidity in it. That is why it is a structural liquidity. But if it has had something like this inside here, like a break of structure inside here, a minor break of structure, then we would have said, okay, valid, this is the inducement. But it doesn't have. So because of that, this is just a structural liquidity, nothing else. So because this one has it, this one is now the inducement. As simple as that. So we're going to the last one, which is the series structural liquidity. Who are all these people chatting here? I don't just know for people safe. As you can see, my candlestick. Nobody has to answer another person question. You are not the teacher. Nobody gave you that right. Somebody is asking you a question and you are telling him the wrong answer. You don't know. He doesn't know. All of you will just fail. This person said, is it compulsory for these candles to be like bullish candle? No. This structural liquidity, they can be any candle of their choice. As you can see, I can't really differentiate these things that much like bullish bear, because this candle is not even your normal green and red. This is almost like black and gray. So stop asking somebody their question when you don't even know the answer. Please stop answering any question. When it's time for question, I will call on you. Okay, fine. Somebody gave us a very decent practical example. He said a king can't rule without people. If there is no people, then a king is a person. Very, very perfect. A structural liquidity is a structural liquidity, but if it has a structural liquidity in it, then it is a break of structure. That's very perfect. Thank you. You're very brilliant. A king can rule without people. If there are no people, that king is just a person. That's perfect. So write that down. That's like we can use that our adage. That's fine. So the color does not matter. You can even put your candle to be black. I don't have a rule. I can't say, oh, okay, all TLS people, put your some of you don't even know. I don't know these people that are in this group. There's one thing that they don't know. Tell them that their link, what they register, has to match their Telegram name. Do you think you just use any name and they'll approve you? That's what is making this one say the basic class was very smooth. What's happening? What's happening here? This is a new link. So you have to make sure that it matches your Telegram username, because that's what they're using to verify. Let's proceed. They'll catch up. So now let's go to the second and the last for today. The series structural liquidity. Now, I gave one example. I said, if peradventure in this scenario, this thing broke up here and it broke with the body of the candle, what would we call this thing here? Are we going to call it a valid break of structure? The answer is capital letter N. Oh, no. Why is it not a valid break of structure? It is because this thing has no structural liquidity in it. So in that case, this thing now becomes series structural liquidity. Now, English language, let's go back there. Dua is saying something is 2, 3, not much, right? Now, series is when something is so much, plenty, series, right? Okay. Now, this is series structural liquidity. It is still indicating this break of structure that is happening here, but it's like too many candles, unlike this one. The difference between this series and Dua is that in this 1 hour time frame, this thing is Dua. Am I right? It's just like 3 candles. The single guy, the one that swept, and the one that broke above. Am I right? But if you go to like 5 minute time frame, you see this single guy, all these things, it's going to be represented like this. This is how it's going to be. It's going to be like series. Like it's going to be too many candles. Why? Because this one is the higher time frame and the opening and closing price of this candlestick, because it's the higher time frame, the thing is big, 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 big. So it's just like made up of 3 candles. If you go to like the 4 hours time frame, see this thing that's plenty here now can be just 3 candles. Wait, let me calculate something. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3. This is just going to be one candle, and if these things were not here, this is going to be another candle that is just moving yet to close until it closes here and then complete its 4 hour cycle. And that is it. So this one now, the reason why it's looking like this is because this is higher time for this 1 hour. If you go to 5 minutes, this thing will be looking like series, but it's still going to give this V shape of break or structure, minor break or structure, minor, major. When he has this structural liquidity in it, could be seen as the major. All right. So now this series structural liquidity is made up of 4, 3 or more candles. Now let's look for a very good example of it. Now, like I said, it has to happen inside that inducement, inside the break of structure. For example, let's use this guy. If we have this guy as a BOS here, and we're looking for what validates it, very simple. You can see this here. These are plenty. These things are plenty. Look at, let me change this color to green. If you go to like, this green is not very visible. Let me do purple. That one's worse. I think the red is just perfect anyway. If you go to like the 4 hours time frame, let's try something. You can see what I said. This thing now is what? It's just how many candle? 1, 2, 3. You can see. Now the thing now is looking like series. Sorry, dua. This one close below this one. And then what? This one closes above with the wick. Simple. That's how it's looking. But now if you go back to the 1 hour, if you go back to the 1 hour, it's now looking like so much. Which is what? It's now looking like the series again. But if you go back to that's how this one is. If you go down to 5 minutes now, this one that is dual, that's looking like just 3 candles, will now be looking like 6, 5 candles, like series, just like this one here. Now you can see like 2, 3 series SLQ inside your BOS. Same as the dual as well. You can see, like I said, you can see like a lot of them. But the main reason why these things are there is because they validate a break of structure. They validate it. And don't forget, the most important thing you need to know is that a break of structure is only valid when price closes with the body of the candle. Like this one now that is here, this thing is a typical structural liquidity. This is a structural liquidity, as you can see. Because why? There is no structural liquidity inside here. If you are doubting, let's look at it together. Now, the last candle we have here is this one. After this candle, you can see that this candle, if assuming this candle swept below this, and then before that candle, there's like one here, then this one swept below this one, the next one above, just like this here, we say, okay, this is structural liquidity. But no, this was the last one. The last week they had is this one. This is last week. And then this movement is just like this, and like this. Simple. Even where they had a structural liquidity, what a dua was here. And this structural liquidity, this one was not inside of this because structure is it occurred outside, which made this just a structural liquidity on its own. This one is a series. This one is dua. And this one, this dua still have series in it like this. So the only thing that can validate your break of structure is number one, it has to close with the it has to break with the body of the candle. Body to wick cannot work. Wick to wick cannot work. Body to body will work. This is another example of a proper break of structure. What validated it? This dua here, close below this one. As you can see it here. And then, look at it. My line is not so straight. The place is too small. And then the next one did what? Close with the body. Simple. Validated this. So as tiny as it is, it's noticeable. So I'll just take just 3 questions and this guy is very loud. What's his name? HP. I really want to see your results. People like this that are very noticeable. I think people need to see their visible results. So let's take question. If you have a question, just give a thumb up and you'll be called. Okay. We have number 1. What's his name? Imbiso. So we're going to unmute. We are taking just 3 questions. The first 3 we have here. Imbiso. Is this
Hi.
Chinedu or something? Chinedu. And Bernard, is your hands up? I don't know. Don't raise up your hand. Give a thumb up. A lot of people hands are up, like raised up. So what I use is a thumb up, just a thumb up like that. So yeah, let's hear from you. The person I've unmuted. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question on the last example that you showed.
All right.
Yeah.
This one, right?
It's on your right, I think. Yes, that one, the last one. Yes.
Okay.
It had it had a break of structure within the break of structure.
So can you recap?
Okay. Do you see the last structure liquidity you said is not a valid break of structure?
This one? Are you talking about this one?
Oh, the other one, the one that has marks on it.
Okay, this one here.
Your item is lagging. No, the previous one.
This one.
Yes, exactly that one.
Okay. I said it's not
Right.
a valid break of structure. Yes, I said so.
Yes. My confusion there now is there is that tiny break of structure that looks like a break of structure within the break of structure.
Now
If you get what I mean.
there is none. Now let's evaluate this together. Now let's look closely. If you are drawing this now, you see that the price from here came down to this level here. This is the last
Yes.
low. Now, after this last low, there is no place any of this candle came below another candle. Remember, structural liquidity, you have to sweep the previous candle. You can't be counting this one that is swept this. No, this is the last low. This is what would validate as a strong low. This last low is not counted. Aside this one, another one needs to occur. This is not counted. Do you understand?
Yes.
Exactly. So because this is the last low, and if there was a scenario where there was a candle in between here, like aside this one, there was a candle in between this place here. Let me push this here. Like there's a candle here, and then it closes below this one. We would say yes, that this is valid because why? Now we have a sweep. But because this guy is the last, it can't be seen. This thing here can't be seen as a sweep. You understand me?
I understand. So what you're saying is our structure liquidity has to be on the right side after our strong point, after the strong low.
What I'm saying is the structural liquidity has to occur after the last low. Now look at these other examples that we did. Let me use another example, the one that we did previously. When I was showing this one, if you look closely, you observe that aside this last low, if this last low was where this social liquidity was located, like let me put it this way, if price had swept a candle here, like this candle here, close below this one, like this,
Mm-hmm.
this thing wouldn't have been seen as a structural liquidity. We don't count the last week or body of candle that was created. Aside the last one, that thing has to occur inside. It could be here, it could be anywhere, but not as the last week or body of the candle. Do you get me?
All right.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
I get it.
any
Okay,
other
thank you.
question.
No, no, that's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right. Let's take the second person. Just give a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Brother Bernard, let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Um, my first question is I didn't have the opportunity to ask it the first time. The what's the for advanced market structure,
Okay.
is it the only difference between advanced market structure and basic market structure is the inducement that comes in,
Yes.
right? It's like, is that the like major difference between advanced and basic?
For now, yes. Okay, for now,
All
yes. But
right,
as time goes
all
on,
right.
there is another thing you
Okay.
need to know.
My second question, can you please go back to the gold setup where you were explaining dual? There was a place you
Where
were
I was
explaining
explaining what?
dual. Apart from this one, there was another place in the chat you're talking about dual. You know,
Is
you
it this
gave another
one?
example apart from this one.
I must have lost it. I went to so many places. Just ask a question. I will look for a chart that illustrates it. Because I can't find it. Just ask, don't worry, go on. Go on. Just ask your question. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Hello?